gonna keep it a bean. I ain't really got a specific topic to talk about here. I gotta pull these games up. Oh my god, what a crazy week. Oh man. Like, what do you even say, bro? This was one of those type of weeks, man. This was nasty. Just nasty, bro. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, no, no. Oh boy, man. We got a few things to speak of, a few things to talk about. Cause I don't even know what to make of everything I've just seen, man. This was a crazy day in the NFL. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your night. Hope you guys are enjoying your day, man. This has been. I'm very tired, man. It's been a long day for me. I have to go to work. So much happened today, man. But I see this as a good day for me, man. The Commanders, they stomped the Panthers, man. I watched that, and I'm sitting there seeing this happen live, and I'm just like, bro, they are not playing around. This is how I know the day was crazy. Jaden Daniels gets drilled. I think he got hit. He got hurt, bro. He got hit in the ribs. I don't remember if it was on one of the sacks that ended the drive that when they had to force the field goal, or if it was when he went on that 47-yard touchdown run. But at some point, man, he got hit and he was hurting in the ribs. He was hurt, man. He was hurt. So they took him out the game. Now, in all honesty, he's obviously in some pain, but he's fine. If this was like a playoff game, he would have came back in. But the Commanders aren't going to be dumb and put their franchise quarterback at risk. They realized they were going up against the Panthers, so they felt more than comfortable enough. Besides, when Jaden left, it was a 10-0 game, and the Panthers weren't doing anything right. We all knew the game was cooked from the moment Andy Dalton threw a pick six to Fowler. Man, it was over, bro. It was just done. It was just done. So, to just add to this level of craziness, Jaden Daniels gets taken out. Marcus Mariota gets dusted off. He steps on the field and just proceeds to cook. And I mean, he just cooks. Oh my God, he cooks this Panthers defense. It wasn't even a competition, man. At some point, it was like 34-0. It was just getting embarrassing. It was 40-0 at some point. It was just so bad. So it was crazy. It was crazy to watch that happen. But that's not even the craziest thing that happened, man. I'm going to keep it a bean. Two things. One, I'm tired of primetime games, man. Listen, as a kid, when I was younger, I loved primetime games because I loved watching the Ravens do their thing on national television. I wanted the world to see the Ravens go out there and make a statement. Prove a point. I enjoyed that. I do. Now, with holiday games, I don't mind that. Like Thanksgiving and Christmas, I don't mind that. But just overall primetime games, I'm over them now. I'm really over them. When I was younger, I wanted the Ravens to have as many primetime games as possible. Nowadays, I'm like, bro, just give me the Sunday. Give me the 1 p.m. games, okay? Give me the Sunday 1 p.m. games. I'm begging you to give me the Sunday 1 p.m. games. I don't want to sit back and have to wait. Because when you have to wait for Sunday Night Football, that means you're going to go through all the 1 p.m. and then 4 p.m. games. It's just like, man, just get to the game. But we're in the worst possible scenario. We got to play on Monday Night Football. So we got to go through all these Sunday games. Then we got to go through Monday, just going through the weekday. If you got to go to work, you got to go to work. You got to go to school, you got to go to school. Whatever it is. You got to go through all of Monday, and then we get to play Monday night. Ugh. What a mess. So that's one. Number two, dog, today was terrible. Oh my God, this was a terrible day of football. Just a lot of these games just stunk. Oh my God, the games today just stunk. The games today was nasty. Shout out to Jared Goff. Shout out to Sam Darnold. Shout out to the Vikings and Lions, bro. That was the only really good game today. I mean, that game was actually fun to watch. That was two high-octane teams going at it. And apparently, it's an NFC North battle, so it has to be the team or the game that actually lived up to the hype. Everything else just sucked. The second best game arguably would have to be the Texans and the Packers, But CJ Stroud did not have a good game. And Jordan Love was just out there playing like Brett Favre. I mean, he was making a bunch of crazy throws. Honestly, the Packers should have lost this game with the type of throws Jordan Love was doing. He was just taking way too much risk. But yeah, the games overall today just stunk. So Lamar, Baker, please do me a favor and just cook on Monday Night Football. I need you guys to cook on Monday Night Football. Please. Please. The Lions and the Vikings was the best game, and unfortunately it was not on prime time. If the Lions and Vikings was a primetime game, if they played Sunday Night Football, we'd have zero issues. We'd be like, all right, the 1 p.m., 4 p.m. game sucked. But did you see that Sunday Night Football game? No. No. They played a 1 p.m. game. They had the best game out of all games today. The rest of these games just stunk. Oh, my God. These games just stunk. It was just, ugh. Just talking about some of these Patriots and Jaguars in London. Who cares? It was a snore fest. The only thing I took away from that is that Drake May is actually showcasing himself to be a talented quarterback. And if the Patriots can actually focus on the next few years, spend the next 2 years building a team around Drake May and see what this guy is capable of, cool. The Jaguars won in London. They're supposed to do that, even though they got smacked around by the Bears last week. But the Jaguars aren't a good team, so it is what it is. Seahawks manhandled the Falcons. I thought that was going to be a good game, but apparently the Falcons did not come to play at home. It was just weird. Seahawks defense took over, man. They tortured Kirk Cousins for 60 minutes. Kirk didn't play a bad game, but that Seattle defense, they felt the need to prove themselves today, and you could tell. They really felt the need to prove themselves, and you could tell, and they just did that. The Titans and Bills game was an absolute snorefest. Nobody cared about the Titans and Bills. Titans took a 10-0 lead, and everybody in the stadium knew the Bills were about to turn up. Like, who really thought the Bills were going to lose to the Titans? Just a waste of time. Titans went up 10-0. Everyone's like, all right, Josh Allen, Buffalo, stop trolling and just go win this game. And that's exactly what happened. Josh Allen having a great day. What else is new? I mean, it's just, the Bills are just the Bills. They play the same type of way. I don't know. I might have to talk about some of these teams and their chances of beating Kansas City and stuff. Because, like, the Bills, they still play the same brand of football, and I just don't think they're going to win like that, bro. I can see them beating anybody except the Chiefs. It's something about the Bills, man. Sean McDermott may actually have to be fired because something got to change with Buffalo. I feel like they're just a stagnant team. They're going to get to the playoffs because you have a top 3 quarterback and he's going to play great football. But it just feels like they're going to get there and they're going to lose to the Chiefs again. And it's just going to be the status quo. They'll come back next year. Josh Allen will be in the MVP conversation but won't win the MVP. The Bills will be a team that one of the main teams to compete or one of the main teams favorite to get to the Super Bowl and they won't get there. And we'll just repeat the same cycle. Something about the Bills, man. I really wish the Bills would have got Davante Adams. I think that would have really changed the needle for me. Amari Cooper got a touchdown in this game, so good on him. But I don't think Amari Cooper really changes much. If you would have gotten a Davante Adams with Josh Allen, that's a different conversation. But Amari Cooper's not really moving me. It basically resets them to where they were last year, and I didn't think last year they'd really beat Kansas City. So I look at the Buffalo Bills as a team that's technically competing for a Super Bowl, but they're not getting past Kansas City. I'm sorry. Then again, I don't think anyone's getting past Kansas City, and that includes the Ravens. But the Ravens issue is a different reason from the Bills situation. But yeah, Buffalo stopped the Titans. Who cares? I mean, it was expected. The Texans and the Packers, man, this game, I don't know what the hell was going on with CJ. Listen, I believe the Packers defense is actually good. I will not sit back and say the Packers defense is trash. The Packers defense has been relatively good today. But, I mean, you can't tell me they're this damn good that CJ played like garbage. 10 of 21, 86 passing yards in 4 quarters, a passer rating of 59, and a QBR of 22. What was CJ Stroud doing? Joe Mixon was carrying the damn team, and the Packers literally were literally giving the game to the Texans, and the Texans didn't want to take it. Like, CJ, this is probably the worst game he's had in his career. This is the worst game he's had in his career, bro. I don't even know what to make of this game. Houston just did not come out to play offensively. They were getting smoked. CJ was under pressure the entire game. They had no answers for the blitzes. They just kept getting smoked. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Jordan Love decided to once again act like Brett Favre and just throw the ball recklessly down the field. He should have got picked off twice. He should have 4 interceptions, and they should have lost this game. Jordan Love is making a lot of reckless throws. He's got a lot of Brett Favre in him. We're starting to really see that. He has a lot of Brett Favre in him. But at the end of the day, they won the game. The issues with the Packers still remains to be there in terms of special teams. I don't trust their special teams. Their special teams have always been a problem. The special teams cost them a trip to the Super Bowl back in 2014. So their special teams being an issue is something. Their defense is playing well, so I'll give them that. And offensively, man, Jordan Love really out here looking like Brett Favre, and I don't know if that's going to be able to work in 2024. The Dolphins and the Colts was just a snore fest, man. I apologize, bro. I really gotta apologize. I thought Anthony Richardson would have been better than this, but no. Just no. I don't see anything, bro. I don't see anything from Anthony Richardson. Besides the athleticism and the occasional deep ball he throws down the field, I'm not seeing much from Anthony Richardson that makes me think he can be consistent enough to win at the highest level in the NFL. He's got a lot of work to do. I will take it. I will sit back and take this season as his rookie season, essentially, because he only played, 3 games in his rookie year before he suffered a season-ending injury. I have to just assume this is his rookie season and he's going to work through it because they still believe in him. But the way he played in the game and the way this offense just looked, man, people will call for Flacco just because it just did. It seemed like the Colts didn't want to win the game, and it seems like the Dolphins didn't want to win. Speaking of the Dolphins, man, God, Tua got to come back. Since he's already decided he's going to continue to play football, he's got to come back. Apparently, he's going to be he's going to start practicing this upcoming week. We'll see, but he got to come back, man. Tyler Huntley. Also, Tyreek Hill, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Tyreek Hill out here looking just fraudulent. If you're a Tyreek Hill fantasy owner, you gotta be pissed off by this. I swear, Tyreek don't even look like he's trying out there at this point. He missed Tua. So at the end of the day, I don't think if you're with the way it's been with the Dolphins, I don't think you're gonna win a championship with Tua. I'm hopeful you could, but I don't think you're going to win the championship with Tua. But Tua's the only thing that's going to continue to keep y'all relevant. Y'all not making the playoffs without Tua. It's as simple as that. Y'all can't even win games on a consistent basis without Tua. That's how bad y'all look. Huntley, man, you have secured yourself a spot as a career backup, dude. You've had the opportunity here, and you're just not doing anything. 7 of 13 for 87 yards is not good quarterback play. For a whole game? 10 point? Nah. With the weapons you have on that offense, with Achane and Mostert and Waddle and Hill, all these pieces, bro. And Odell's there too. They got all this talent and they can't even execute on offense. Get Tua back out here. Colts, you won the game, but people were actively calling for Joe Flacco just because we don't even know what to make of Anthony Richardson anymore. I mean, just I don't know about the kid. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know about the kid. I'm hoping that he'll improve in this game, but I don't know about the kid. I really don't know about this guy. What else was poor? Oh, Giants and Eagles, bro. This game wasn't even a competition. Saquon went back to MetLife Stadium and put his foot down the throats of every New York Giants fan. He came out there and just smoked him. Nearly 200 rushing yards for Saquon Barkley. I mean, what can you do? The Giants stink. They stink. And they're injured. Their defense is suffering injuries. Their offensive line suffered injuries. Andrew Thomas is out for the season. The Giants stink. The Eagles, they're doing enough to win games. Jalen Hurts had 3 total touchdowns today. He didn't turn the ball over. At least I don't think he did. He played relatively well. Saquon Barkley was a story. He was carrying in this game. Had nearly 200 yards rushing, just making his former team look silly. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones, man, he didn't even pass for 100 yards in this game. I don't know what he had a QBR of 16? Oh, my God. I don't know what you do if you're a Giants fan, man. Just tank and try to get a quarterback. Daniel Jones cannot be on this roster after this year. I don't care what you got to do. Cut this dude. He cannot be on this roster. I don't know what you do with Daniel Jones. Malik Neighbors out there fighting for his life, man. That's all I got to say. So, yeah, you got yet another game where it was just trash. and then you just switch over to another game that sucked too. The Raiders and the Rams, man. What do I do with this game? Oh my God. They're working through some things. Matthew Stafford didn't play great. Aiden O'Connell was irrelevant. And Gardner Minshew came on the field and stuck up the joint. Oh! Man, at the end of the day, a football game had to be played. Somebody had to win. Nobody looked impressive, other than Kyren Williams for the Rams. But at the end of the day, a game had to be played and somebody had to win. The Rams won. Minshew looked like trash. Every time I watch Gardner Minshew play, I sit back and wonder how the hell the Ravens lost to this team. Do I just say Davante Adams? Davante Adams, Brock Bowers, and Max Crosby beat us? Because I will feel a little bit better if I sit back and say that. I will feel a little bit better if I sat back and said, we lost to Davante Adams, Brock Bowers, and Max Crosby. Because I don't know how we lost to this team. That's the fun part about the NFL. I don't know how we lost to this team. I don't know how the Bengals lost to the Patriots. It's just weird. Teams lose. It's Sunday. Football's crazy. It's any given Sunday because for some reason one team will beat your team, and then the next week they'll look like trash against another team. I don't know how it happens. I really don't. It's just that type of day. And then we got to get to this game, man. And this game is enough for me to have to make a video about the Chiefs. The Chiefs and Niners game was utter garbage. The Chiefs and Niners game was utter trash. Patrick Mahomes played like trash. Brock Purdy played like complete garbage. At the same time, Patrick Mahomes was great in the fourth quarter. He was clutch in the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs are 6-0. This season, Patrick Mahomes has 6 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He has been garbage for most of the year. At the same time, Patrick Mahomes is PFF's highest graded quarterback in the fourth quarter. Make that make sense. Patrick Mahomes is having a bad year, and the Chiefs are undefeated. Make that make sense. Listen, I understand the Chiefs are going through injuries, man. I understand that. But the offense can look this anemic. And yet, despite them looking this anemic, the Niners just came out here and played worse. Brock Purdy played so terrible. For all the people that talk about Brock Purdy and try to slander him, this was a great week for that. Because when you don't have your top tier guys, what do, Brock Purdy? You stink up the joint. There's no Christian McCaffrey playing. Brandon Ayuk might have suffered a season-ending injury. We saw his knee. He might have suffered a season-ending injury. Deebo Samuel's doing what? I mean, the team is injured. The Niners are injured. They're missing guys. So he's undermanned, and he's playing like trash. That interception at the goal line. Good God, Brock, why are you forcing the ball? Why are you forcing the ball? Brock Purdy just played like trash. Mahomes was just as bad. Mahomes was just throwing picks. His second interception, he just completely missed his receiver. I don't even know what Mahomes was doing there. Mahomes has been very, very uncharacteristic this season. There's been, I can argue there's been 15 quarterbacks that's played better than Patrick Mahomes this year. But guess who's been the best quarterback in the fourth quarter? Mahomes. And guess who's 6-0? The Chiefs. I got to talk about the Chiefs, man. Because, again, what people don't understand about the Chiefs is that they do 3 things better than anybody in the league. And because they do these 3 things at the right time, they're sitting here as 3-time champions. It's the exact same thing the Patriots were doing. Let me get this out the way first. Oh, yeah, perfect. But yeah, these three things they do it better than everybody else. And that's my biggest theory as to why they continue to win. And honestly, I don't see anyone beating the Chiefs. I don't see anybody in the NFC beating the Chiefs. I don't see anyone in the AFC beating the Chiefs. I will sit back and tell you this right now. The Ravens are a better team than the Chiefs. The Lions are a better team than the Chiefs. But come playoff time, you're not betting on either one of those teams over the Chiefs. The Texans are technically a better team than the Chiefs. The Bills are a better team than the Chiefs. But come playoff time, you're not betting against the Chiefs. And I'll tell you this right now, I would not be surprised if Kansas City's back in the Super Bowl this year. And it's because of what I'm watching them do throughout the season. With Mahomes playing like trash and all the injuries lining up, they continue to do these exact three things that no one else does at the highest level the way the Chiefs do it. And I might have to make a video about that. Kansas City's not playing good football right now offensively. But because of the three things they're doing, they're 6-0 for a reason. They got the win. San Francisco, man, their seasons. I'm sorry, bro. It's over. It's over. It's over. I don't think they can get back to the Super Bowl. I don't think they can get back to the Super Bowl. You don't know if Christian McCaffrey's going to come back. Brandon Ayuk might be done for the year. I don't see anything out of Deebo Samuel. What is happening? What is happening? This is George Kittle out there. It's literally just George Kittle. I don't know what you do at this point, man. I don't know what you do at this point. The Niners just don't look to be the same as last year. They're dealing with all these injuries. Brock Purdy's just doing what he was trying. He's just trying his best, man. I don't know what you do with this. It's not looking good for the Niners. It's not looking good for the Niners. So with a day like this that was garbage, it was nice to see at least one good thing. Shout out to the Lions. Shout out to the Vikings. I'm going to state this right now. The Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFC. The Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFC. And it's unfortunate that we have to say that knowing what happened with the injury to Aiden. It's unfortunate because that injury could be the difference between them winning the Super Bowl and them coming up short. Their best defensive player is out for the season. And that hurts because the Lions right now are playing the best football in the NFC. They're arguably playing the best football in the NFL. And your best defensive player is gone. So I think in the long run, the loss of Aiden is going to potentially hurt them in the biggest moments. And it could cost them a chance to win a Super Bowl. But for right now, if we're talking about who's the best team in the NFC, it's the Lions. It's the Lions. Offensively, defensively, it's the Lions. Also, at what point does Jared Goff's name get mentioned in the MVP conversation? I mean, I'm watching this dude play great football week to week. When does Jared Goff's name appear in the MVP conversation? The Lions and the Vikings went at it. Vikings were undefeated, holding on to the streak as much as they can. The Lions were fighting in this game, man. Sam Darnold, he didn't play a terrible game, but now it's one of those other games where Sam Darnold's starting to look a bit more like Sam Darnold. I think overall he still played well enough to help you win, but Sam Darnold's starting to look a little bit like the Sam Darnold of old because now he's starting to turn the ball over on a game-to-game basis. So you kind of look at that. But other than that, I mean, you look at this, Sam Darnold, you know, he had a pick, but he had a passer rating of 103. He was consistent with his throwing. It's just he made a couple mistakes and missed some throws. There was one throw he missed that, honestly, if he would have made that play, they could have won this game. Because they would have just ran the clock down and the Lions wouldn't have had a chance to go win this game. But they missed on that. It is what it is. Aaron Jones nearly ran for 100 yards. He was doing his thing. And he had a touchdown as well. You were seeing Jefferson do his thing. He got in the end zone. Addison was getting involved. They have a lot of talent on the Vikings. And I think because of the offensive talent they have, they can compete with anybody. But I don't know if and the defense they have and the defense they play, they can compete with anybody. But I don't know if I fully trust in Sam Darnold to consistently show up in these moments. That's where I have a concern. I don't know if I can fully trust in Sam Darnold to be able to deliver. Because I didn't feel like he delivered today. Meanwhile, Jared Goff was doing whatever the hell he wanted to do, man. Jahmyr Gibbs over 100 yards rushing. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He was cooking. Amon St. Brown, bro. Over 100 yards for St. Brown, bro. He was cooking. He had a touchdown as well. they were just doing their thing in Detroit, and Jared Goff looked great. St. Brown looked great. Gibbs looked great. The offensive firepower of the Lions is severe. They have a steady quarterback that can play at a high level. They have a great running back duo in Gibbs and Montgomery. They've got some talented receivers, man, especially when you look at St. Brown. They've got some firepower on this Detroit offense. And the defense can play relatively well. So I look at Detroit right now. I feel the balance that I see both offensively and defensively. That's where I sit back and say, yeah, I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. And it's gonna be very tough to see somebody prove that wrong. Now, if there's anybody that can prove that wrong, you would have to look at the NFC North and see if anyone else can match them up. But for the next few games, we'll see. The Titans game, they have Titans next week. They're going to smoke the Titans. If they lose that one, I would have a little bit of a question mark look at the Lions. But they play Green Bay. They'll play Green Bay in 2 weeks at Green Bay. They play the Packers at Green Bay in 2 weeks. I'm going to have my answers about this Lions team when they take on the Packers. I look at the Lions as the best team in the NFC as well as the best team in the division. The second best team, I'm starting to look at the Packers. I'm leaning a little bit more towards the Packers than I am with the Vikings. But I think it's still close. I think the Vikings will get the edge. But that Lions-Packers game is going to tell me a lot about this Lions team. That Lions-Packers game is going to tell me all I need to know. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this goes. Vikings suffered their first loss of the season. You really don't trip about it. A loss is a loss. You just deal with it. It's the National Football League. You're not going to be undefeated. You're not going to go undefeated every single game. It's not going to happen. Eventually, you'll see a team like the Chiefs lose one, and they'll just get over it. It doesn't matter. And then other than that, there was only 2 games that was. Well, there's 3 games left to talk about. I already said what I needed to say about the Commanders. It was crazy to watch Jaden Daniels, suffer his injury, go down. Marcus Mariota comes out and just cooks the Panthers. The Panthers are just in hell. The Panthers are in hell. The Panthers are in hell because they don't have anywhere to go. I don't even know if they have any first-round draft picks because of what they've done. The Panthers, they can't get out of this situation, man. They have a lot, and I mean a lot of things that would have to change. They're not a great offensive team. They're not a great defensive team. They don't do anything special. They have to rebuild this team, man. They have to rebuild this team, spend the next few years rebuilding this team, and they've got to figure out the quarterback situation. They've got to look to try to go draft a quarterback within the next 2 to 3 years and try to see if they can restart this. The Panthers are in complete poverty, and I don't even know what you can do at this point. The second Dalton threw that pick 6, I knew the game was over, and I had no concerns. Meanwhile, the Commanders are 5-2, man. They're 5-2, first place in the NFC East. They look to be great. I didn't look at this game as a real indicator of what the Commanders are capable of because, beating up on bad teams doesn't give you a good indicator of what they're capable of. I think these next few weeks we'll start to see it because they got the Bears next week, and I think that game against Chicago is going to be fun. Got the Bears at home in Landover. It's going to be a grudge match, and I believe Jaden Daniels should be fine. Like I said, he had suffered a rib injury, but it wasn't anything too serious. They're probably going to keep him limited in practice this week just to make sure they don't, overexert him. And I would assume that Jaden Daniels is going to play in the Bears game. But then after that, you got the Giants, Steelers, and the Eagles. Giants game, you should be able to win that one. Steelers game is going to be tough because of the Steelers defense. And the Eagles game is going to be a test. And then after that, you got the Cowboys. So, yeah, there's a couple games that you got to look on the Commanders' schedule and say, yeah, they're going to have a chance to make some noise and try to prove themselves. Other than that, there's only 2 games left to really talk about. I tried to tell people. I think everybody saw this. This was the easiest game. This was the easiest game. There's nothing else that needs to be said. This was the easiest game of the day. We didn't even need to waste time with this. We knew the result before the game even started. They tried to trick you. You got these Jets fans on television. Obviously, as a fan of that team, you got to support them. You got people like Greeny on Get Up trying to hype them up. The Jets are back. Back where? Y'all got Devontae Adams, and that was automatically going to solve your problems? Aaron Rodgers can't stop turning the ball over. The play calling is terrible. The offensive line's protection is awful. The special teams is garbage because you don't have a quality kicker. So the kicking situation is a problem. The offensive line situation is a problem. The offensive play calling is a problem. Aaron Rodgers can't stop turning the ball over. And yet Davante Adams was going to solve all these problems? In what world was that going to be the case? Look, they might be able to beat up on some lower teams and some bad defenses. They're not doing that against the top tier defenses. What happened tonight against the Steelers is not a surprise defensively. Now, what is surprising is what we saw offensively, because we assumed the Jets defense would be better than what they did tonight. I mean, they got stomped. 37-15 is a horrible loss. They got stomped. A-Rod, 24, 39, 276, a touchdown, an interception. I mean, I don't know what you do with that. Breece Hall got a touchdown. That's cool. He got a touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown, and he had over 100 receiving yards. Y'all brought Davante Adams here for him to get 3 catches on 30 yards. 3 catches for 30 yards. 3 catches for 30 yards on 9 targets! Davante Adams got 9 targets and had 3 catches. But Davante Adams was going to solve your problems. 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions for A-Rod. 9 targets for Davante Adams. 3 catches for 30 yards. Oh yeah, that was going to solve your problem. Let's get Davante Adams. That's going to fix the issues. Even though you guys have a terrible kicker, you can't kick. Your kicking situation is poor. Your offensive execution is poor. Your offensive line is poor. Your offensive play calling is poor. And Aaron Rodgers can't stop turning the ball over. But Davante Adams was going to change things in New York? Okay. Let me get a quick peek at the Jets' schedule moving forward, just to see what they would have to deal with. I just want to have a quick take as to what they have to deal with. So I'm thinking curb stomped by the Steelers. They're going to get a break against the Patriots. They're not beating the Texans. They're not beating that defense. You get a break against the Cardinals and the Colts. Seattle's defense is going to give them some problems. The Dolphins with Tua, they'd probably have a chance with that game. Jaguars are trash. Rams are They're going to get small. They're going to lose to the Bills again. Then they got to... I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to figure out how many wins they could get. Maybe they beat the Patriots, so I can give them 1. The Cardinals, that's a toss-up for me. I don't know. The Cardinals are a toss-up. The Colts, depends on who they play. The Dolphins, I don't know. I'm looking at potentially 2 or 3 more wins that I could give to the Jets, because the Jets right now, though, they don't scream a winning team. They don't scream winning team. They don't scream winning culture. People really just assumed that bringing Davante Adams was going to change anything. By the way, shout out to you, Davante Adams. You got to reunite with your best friend. You went from one dumpster fire to another dumpster fire. You went from one horrible situation to another horrible situation. But hey, you get to be with your friend Aaron Rodgers. You could have been catching passes from Josh Allen in Buffalo. But you get to hang out with your good old buddy Aaron Rodgers. That's great. You guys can lose together. Feel as comfortable as you want to feel in New York. You could have been with Josh Allen competing for a chip. Instead, you wanted to go hang out with your good buddy Aaron Rodgers. Cool. That's great. You guys enjoy losing together, because that's probably what you're going to be doing this season. Where is this magical turnaround that's supposed to happen for the Jets? Unless they just fix their offensive line problems, unless they fix the play calling, unless they fix their kicking situation, unless Aaron Rodgers stops turning the ball over, I don't know how this team is going to turn into a Super Bowl contending team now that you've got Davante Adams. Like I was saying, the biggest or the more impactful trade that happened was Amari Cooper to the Bills. That was the biggest trade acquisition. Davante Adams going to the Jets to go hang out with his buddy Aaron Rodgers is not going to change life for the Jets. It's a waste of time. But hey, Davante Adams, at least you got your wish. You went from one dumpster fire to another dumpster fire. But it's okay being in the dumpster fire as long as you're with your friend. So you're with your good old buddy Aaron Rodgers, and you guys can lose together. Meanwhile, you could have been in Buffalo with Josh Allen, actually being a legitimate threat, turning that team into a serious contender, and trying to actually win a Super Bowl. You could be competing to potentially win a Super Bowl, but you'll just be competing for 500. You'll be competing to try to finish the season at 500 as you guys enter the offseason, but you'll have plenty of time to hang out with your good buddy Aaron Rodgers. He got his wish. Enjoy it. Three catches on 9 targets. 3 catches on 9 targets for Davante Adams. Enjoy it, man. As for the Steelers, man, you've got a conundrum. You've got a real conundrum. Everybody was on the Justin Fields train. Everybody was on the Justin Fields train. He was doing great. Or at least he was doing solid. He didn't do enough to lose the job, but he didn't do enough to win it. And people questioned Mike Tomlin when he said, I'm starting Russell Wilson this week. People questioned that. Why? Because they didn't believe Russ would be good enough to play at a high level coming off the injury. Well, how about that? Russell Wilson, 16 to 29, 264 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, a passer rating of 109. They stopped the Jets. Najee Harris had over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. George Pickens had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Did you see how George Pickens looked great? People were cooking George Pickens because he and Justin Fields weren't able to connect, and his stat line was looking horrible. One game with Russell Wilson, and Pickens looks like one of the best receivers in football. Funny how that works. So now, Russell Wilson gets his start. They dominate the Jets. He looks great while they dominate the Jets, and now you've got a quarterback situation. Because now, you got to stick with Russell Wilson. But Justin Fields was playing great. So now, what happens? If Russell Wilson has a bad game, do you automatically just go to Justin Fields? Are they going to have a 2-quarterback situation? Are they just going to use both quarterbacks and go back and forth? What is Mike Tomlin going to do here? Me personally, I assume it's going to be a situation where he just sticks with Russell Wilson. And, they'll go as far as Russell Wilson takes them. Do I think the Steelers are legitimate Super Bowl contenders? Not necessarily. I don't really see that. I don't think this team is built to beat a team like Kansas City. I don't think this team's built to beat a team like Buffalo. But that defense can destroy worlds and will keep them in it. As long as the defense plays well, the Steelers will be able to beat anybody. And I think that's been the case for like the last 5 years. Or at least you can say at least the last 4 years, that defense has been the reason why they've won a majority of their games. But at some point, they will match up with a high-octane offense. I think the Bills, I don't see them beating the Bills if they match up in the playoffs. I don't see them beating the Texans if they match up in the playoffs. I don't see them beating the Chiefs if they match up in the playoffs. I just think a lot of these high-octane offenses will get the best of them. Because at some point, their defense is not going to be able to hold up against some of the best weapons in football. It's just going to be too problematic. I think the defense is doing a great job in just keeping them in these games and making plays. Picking off Aaron Rodgers twice and giving Russell Wilson short field position really works in your favor. So, again, the defense still is the heart and soul of the team. It's the engine. It's what drives the team as a whole. But the offense, they looked better this time around. I think the offense this is the best the Steelers offense has looked in quite some time. I don't remember the last time the Steelers offense put up 37 points in the game. I'm dead serious. I do not remember the last time the Steelers offense put up 37 points in the football game. Russell Wilson might actually be back. The Steelers might have a quarterback. So, we'll see. I still feel the same way I feel about the Steelers. I just don't see them as a Super Bowl contending team, but I see them as a team that will be a pain in the ass to deal with come playoff time. But it is what it is. Pittsburgh, they advanced to 5-2. They now hold first place in the AFC North. And it'll be up to Baltimore to match them and regain first place or fall short, go to 4-3. And now first place is reclaimed by the Steelers. It is what it is. But I do like the Steelers' defense. And I think as long as that defense plays the way they're playing, they're going to find ways to win games. So they've been doing it all season. The Steelers' defense is not going to let them down. They create turnovers. They create sacks. They get to the quarterback and just wreck them. So I think the Steelers will continue to do that, and that's just how that's going to be. Okay, so we've talked about all the games except one, and I purposely skipped over this game because of everything that happened, and I already know how it's going to be discussed. All right. Oh boy, we talked about today being a crazy day. This was easily the craziest thing that happened all damn day. AFC North battle. Bengals, Browns in Cleveland. The Browns offense looked anemic again. The Browns offense looked like trash again. The Browns offense couldn't move the ball. Deshaun Watson for much of the first half was doing virtually nothing. Yet despite him doing virtually nothing, Deshaun Watson actually put together a really good drive. And it looked like it was going to be the best drive Deshaun Watson put together this entire season. They were on their way to potentially scoring when Deshaun Watson proceeded to hurt his Achilles. I'm not going to sit here and give confirmation that he has suffered a torn Achilles. I will not give confirmation to that until we get the official report that he's torn his Achilles. However, he did suffer an Achilles injury, and I did see the video. I saw the footage. It looked like a torn or a ruptured Achilles. He suffered the same injury that Aaron Rodgers suffered last year. And we know Aaron Rodgers suffered a ruptured Achilles. He was out for the season. Deshaun Watson suffered an Achilles injury, and he's probably done for the season. But we have not got confirmation. However, if you saw the injury, he's done. If you saw the injury, he's done. That's a ruptured Achilles, or at least it's a ruptured or a torn Achilles, however you want to see it. He's done for the season. Deshaun Watson's 2024 season has officially come to an end. In fact, probably a good chunk of his 2025 season may be done as well. And I think it's very possible that this is the last time we see Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform. So now his time with Cleveland could very well be done, and his time in the league will be questioned because he did not put a good performance up in Cleveland at all. He looked like the worst quarterback in football this year. He didn't do much last year, but he was starting to get in the groove before he suffered a season-ending injury. He comes into this year. He's been awful. He's been the worst quarterback in football. And then he proceeds to suffer another season-ending injury. What do you do at this point? I don't think anybody's going to want Deshaun Watson after this, man. The Cleveland Browns were looking for a way to get out of this. This is their opportunity to get out of it. And they'll probably look to move on from Deshaun Watson. It is what it is. But yeah, Watson suffers the Achilles injury. And this is where everybody got into it, man. Watson suffers the Achilles injury. The fans are actively cheering when it happens. Funny enough, when Deshaun Watson was introduced in the game, he was getting booed by the fans. They're at home, and the fans are booing him. Meanwhile, when Nick Chubb came out, they were cheering him. And these are just the introductions. So when he suffered the Achilles injury, there were Browns fans that were cheering for that. If you went all over Twitter, they were actively happy that Deshaun Watson had suffered this injury. They were elated. They were celebrating. They were making jokes. All of this was happening. Me personally, I ain't got nothing to say, man. I ain't got nothing to say. We know the situation surrounding Deshaun Watson. We know the reputation Deshaun Watson now has. And we know how pretty much the entire world, or majority of the world, views him. Because of what happened, he's viewed a different light. There's no doubt in my mind that Deshaun Watson is the most hated player in the National Football League. He may arguably be the most hated player in sports right now. People were actively preying on his downfall. So for it to happen here, people were celebrating. I'm not going to get into the aspect of celebrating a person getting injured, whether that was, even though it's a person that I'm not going to get into that whole aspect. I'm not going to get into that whole aspect because I'm not going to speak on things that I don't have full evidence of. I can have my own personal feelings and my own personal moral aspects to this, my own personal takes, but I'm not going to speak on something that doesn't have full facts. All I'll say is when it comes to a player getting injured, usually we don't celebrate that. And the fans celebrating that is low-key wild, especially because the players took offense to that. The Browns players were disgusted with their fan base for cheering Deshaun Watson's injury. Myles Garrett spoke on that. Jameis Winston spoke on that, and he had a very powerful press conference when it came to that. He was actively pissed off that the fans did that, and he could not believe it. Now, again, we understand how Deshaun Watson is perceived. We understand the allegations that's been placed on him. We understand the reputation he has right now. We all understand he's the most hated player. So there's nothing you can do about that. But actively cheering for a man's injury, low-key is wild. But at the same time, I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. People are going to do that because it's Deshaun Watson. I don't remember last time somebody actively was happy about a person getting injured and people were celebrating. I don't remember last time that's happened about somebody that people relatively liked. Like when Aiden got hurt, nobody was celebrating that. When Nick Chubb got hurt, nobody was celebrating that. But Deshaun Watson getting hurt, and I was at work when we had the report. Everybody was happy about that, making jokes and stuff like that. That's just how it is. The guy's reputation is what it is. The allegations have been placed on him. At the end of the day, whether you believe he did it or not, the allegations are placed on him. And there's plenty of reports that have continued to come out about some of the things he did in Houston. We know the reputation is placed on him. He's not seen as a good guy. From a human standpoint, he's not seen as a good person. People hate this guy. People hate the player. People hate the person. So they're going to actively cheer for his downfall. So suffering the injury was an aspect there. Like I said, for me personally, I don't really celebrate or cheer when people get injured. But, when it comes to this situation, especially when it comes to a player people hate and somebody that's seen as a bad person, I get where people are coming from to root for his downfall because of, who the person is. But me personally, I can't personally just sit back and celebrate somebody's downfall. I can't do that. And I don't even have to like the person. I don't have to like the person. The person could be garbage. The person could be the worst human being on the earth. I don't really celebrate injuries. Now, again, if you're going to ask me, do I feel sympathy and all this other stuff, that's a whole nother question. I'm not going to answer that here. But I just don't celebrate injuries. I just don't. I'm not going to judge you. Okay, I'm not going to say the people that were celebrating that this guy suffered the injury were wrong. I'm not here to do that. I think everybody has the freedom to react however they want to react and do whatever they want to do. This guy is perceived as a bad person. He's the most hated player in sports today. People want to see his downfall, so they're going to celebrate it. I'm not going to participate in the celebration, but I'm not going to sit back and say you're wrong for doing it. Everyone's free to do what they want to do with that. But the Deshaun Watson situation has been nasty the last few years. It's been very tough. Cleveland, knowing the allegations that's been put on him, took a chance, brought him here. He has not lived up to the potential. Excuse me. He's not lived up to the potential they believed he could have brought their team. He's not lived up to the talent they thought he could bring to their team. He did not live up to the contract they gave him, the fully guaranteed contract he gave him. He has not lived up to any of the expectations. So when you are seen as a bad person from a human standpoint, which again, I'm not going to get into that, and then you're seen as trash and garbage as a player, nothing you can do. Nothing you can do about it. Cleveland opened him. They welcomed Deshaun Watson with open arms, despite the allegations, because they thought he could take them to the promised land. So because he's been garbage and has arguably been the worst quarterback in football, now they turn the tables, they boo him, they hate him, and all of a sudden those allegations now mean a lot more. They ignored it because they thought he'd help them win. But since they're not winning, now it's coming to fruition. It is what it is. Like I said, I'm not for, I'm not against. I'm not here to be a judge of anybody that wants to celebrate the man's downfall. I'm just saying with me, I've always had that code with professional athletes. When they do suffer an injury, I don't celebrate it. Even if I think the person is a terrible human being, I don't celebrate it. I don't. You're not, now, at the same time, you're not going to see me saying, oh man, prayers out to this person, hoping they have a speedy recovery. They don't deserve this. I never put those type of things in there. So I'm not going to say any of those things about Deshaun Watson, whether I have those feelings for him or not. I'm not going to say that in general. All I'll say is the man got injured. He's got a long journey to go. His career could be done. Whatever happens for him next, that's just something he's going to have to deal with. But I'm not going to celebrate a person's injury. I'm just not. At the same time, I'm not going to judge you if you want to celebrate the injury. You're free to react however you want to react. I'm not going to call you a terrible human being or say you're a bad person for celebrating the man's injury. You're free to do whatever you want. So I just had to say that because I already knew it was going to be a dicey thing. I was hearing so many people at work celebrate this man's downfall. I sat back and watched. I sat back and watched, and my reaction was like, damn, Cleveland really messed this up. I spoke on him. I spoke on Deshaun Watson, the player, not the person. I don't have all the evidence. I can have my personal preferences. That's the thing. People have to understand when it comes to allegations, there is the facts, there's the evidence, there's the statements, and then there's your own personal morals and opinions. From a factual standpoint, all the allegations have been placed on him. However, nothing has been concrete and he has not been ruled guilty for any of these allegations. So from a factual standpoint, from a legal standpoint, from a civil standpoint, because a lot of these end up being civil cases, ultimately it went nowhere. He was not proven guilty with a lot of these allegations. So that's just how it is. But again, from a moral standpoint, from a personal standpoint, from an opinion standpoint, you can have a different outtake on this. And that outtake is going to ultimately mold how you judge the man. Because a lot of people sit back and say, yeah, well, it's proven innocent until guilty, and obviously the allegations haven't stuck to the point where he's been ruled guilty, so it feels like we should give him the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, there's so many allegations on him that at some point you got to look at the person and say, are you sure not one or two of those are right? But it is what it is. I don't want to go too far into this. I just knew it was a topic I was going to have to discuss because it was Deshaun Watson tearing his Achilles potentially, and everybody on Twitter was celebrating. And anytime somebody sat back and said it's not good to celebrate a downfall or celebrate a person's injury, they sat back and responded and say he's a horrible person, so he deserved it. So I knew I had to address it. I don't have any feelings on it. I'm not the one to celebrate on any athlete's downfall or overall injury. I don't celebrate those things. At the same time, I don't judge people that do. Do what you want to do. And I also don't go into the aspect of, I don't also let my personal feelings about that player affect my judgment on what's happening on the field. I can separate the human being from the player themselves. I don't have to like the human being. I could think they're an awful person, or I could think there's somebody that's done a lot of bad things that doesn't deserve the position they're in. But I'm always going to be objective and speak on the player because I'm watching the player. I don't know the person. So I don't know Deshaun Watson, the person. If you ask Jameis Winston, if you ask Myles Garrett, they spoke highly of Deshaun Watson, and they're on his side. So I'm going to leave it there. It's going to be an endless conversation with Deshaun Watson. It is what it is. I'll leave it like this. Deshaun Watson potentially has ruptured his Achilles. His time for this season is over. He's done for the year. He's probably going to miss some time in 2025. In terms of his career as a Brown, it will go down as a failure. It will be seen as one of the worst, if not the worst trade in NFL history. There's a good chance the Browns will use this opportunity just to get away from Watson. They'll pay him whatever the injury clause, whatever it was. He'll get his money, but they'll want him gone. And the Browns at this point will have to look to move forward without Deshaun Watson on the roster. Boom. I'll just leave it like that. Cleveland, you deal with that problem. But anyway, let's speak about the game, and then I'm just going to call it a night. The game was terrible. Like I said, Watson wasn't doing anything, and then they brought in DTR. And I'm going to be honest, bro, why is DTR even coming in? This is the thing I got to look at Stefanski and say, bro, you low-key might have to be fired because this is coaching malpractice. This is just idiotic. Jameis Winston is the backup. He's routinely been the backup. People have called for Jameis Winston to come out here because they know the talent he brings to the table. This dude Stefanski decided to have Jameis Winston be the third string and have DTR be the backup. What are they seeing from DTR? Somebody explain this to me. What the hell are they seeing from DTR that makes them think this guy's good? I'm watching him go out there and play like DeShone Kizer. You remember DeShone Kizer that they drafted? That's what he looks like. He's not ready for this stage. I don't know if he ever will be, but he's not ready to be a professional NFL player. He's not. You can take a look at the film. You can take a look at the performance. He's not good enough to be here. What is he doing this day? Against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. This defense stinks. 11 of 24, 82 passing yards, 2 interceptions. A QBR 15 and a passer rating of 19. He's not good. What are the Browns seeing from DTR that makes them think he should still be playing quarterback? It's a DeShone Kizer situation. He's not good enough to play at this level. I'm sorry. It's the reality of the situation. They keep trying to force DTR out there. He's not good enough. If he was, he would have already been the starter. He's not good enough. Why would you put him as the backup instead of Jameis? So DTR goes out there, plays like trash, and guess what has to happen? Jameis Winston eventually has to come in. And guess what Jameis Winston does? He scores a touchdown. 5 of 11, 67 yards, a touchdown, no interception, QBR of 75, passer rating of 95. I strongly believe if Jameis Winston would have played in this game, the Browns might have pulled off the upset. because the Bengals didn't do anything special. If you've noticed, Cincinnati has been surviving in these games. They had to survive against the Giants, and they survived here. 7 of their 21 points came from a kick return touchdown. Joe Burrow didn't play terrible, but Joe Burrow didn't do anything majorly special. However, he did enough to get the win. Joe Burrow's doing his job. T. Higgins did his job, 82 yards receiving and the touchdown. Jamar Chase did his job, 55 yards receiving and a touchdown. You leaned on your talent. You leaned on the talent of Joe Burrow. You leaned on the talent of T. Higgins. You leaned on the talent of Jamar Chase. They get you the extra points you need, and you go on to win. If Jameis Winston would have been playing in this game earlier, I think Cleveland wins. But instead, DTR comes in after Deshaun Watson comes down. After Deshaun Watson goes down, DTR comes in, and it's just a waste. The game, he just threw the game away. The game was it was there. It was there for the taking. It was on a silver platter, and the Browns had an opportunity to take this, but they wanted to mess around and play DTR. Why? Because they think he can still do it. He can't. Get over it. He's not good enough to play at a high level at this point. He's just not. Stop playing him. Just start Jameis. It's not that difficult. But yeah, Browns, they go to 1-5, 1-6. They go to 1-6. They haven't won a single game at home. The fans are so sick and tired of watching this product. They just want this season to be over. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's 3-4. Like I said, they were not dead at 1-4. Guess who's won 2 straight games after losing to Baltimore? Cincinnati. And like I was speaking of, there's 2 more games they have to play. There's 2 more games they have to play before they will run into Baltimore on Thursday Night Football. They've got the Eagles and the Raiders. I'm not wasting my time. Let's mark the Raiders as a win. So we'll look at them at 4-4. There is a very high chance Cincinnati's 5-4 by the time they beat Baltimore. So Baltimore better be 6-3 or 7-2 by the time that matchup happens. I think the Eagles could get the Bengals, but I don't fully trust Philadelphia enough to just make. I don't fully trust Philadelphia enough to make that bet, nor do I trust them enough to sit back and declare them the winner. Like I wouldn't, if I was making a prediction video, I would not say, "Oh yeah, Eagles got this." Eagles got the talent to beat the Bengals because that Bengals defense is trash. But I don't know if Philly's gonna get this one. At the end of the day, Jalen Hurts, rely on Saquon Barkley, rely on AJ Brown, rely on Devontae Smith. If the Eagles beat the Bengals, it would severely hurt their playoff chances. But if the Bengals beat the Eagles, they're back. If the Bengals beat the Eagles next week, they're back because they'll beat the Raiders and then they'll face off against Baltimore at 5-4. And Baltimore at this point will probably be 6-3 or 7-2. If they potentially come to Baltimore and beat the Ravens, that becomes a whole different conversation. Cincinnati gets back in the mix. After starting 1-4, they could potentially be 6-4 after 3 weeks. So we'll figure something out here. We'll figure something out here in terms of what this Bengals team is going to be. We'll figure something out real soon about this team. So yeah, Cincinnati wins. They're back in the picture. They're slowly getting back to where they need to be. It is what it is. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Other than that, that's pretty much it. A crazy day in the NFL, man. All these games, most of them were boring. We had one great game. And yeah, that pretty much happened. Just an eventful day. We have 2 more games left to play in Week 7. The Chargers take on the Cardinals in Arizona. The Chargers take on the Cardinals in Arizona. That'll be 9 p.m. But of course, I'll be here tomorrow for the actual game people want to watch. Baltimore and Tampa Bay. Ravens taking on the Bucs in Tampa Bay. Monday Night Football on ESPN. I'll be here to stream that game tomorrow. And hopefully Lamar and Baker put on a show to try to wipe away all of the garbage we had seen today. But that's it for me. I'm going to read some of these comments and we're going to head on out because it's almost 1 a.m. Can't wait for the Surviving Watson documentary to come out in 2013. That's crazy. Russ might be the answer for my Steelers. I would pump the brakes on that because you're going up against the Jets. But him playing that well does pose the question of whether or not he should continue to be the starter. I think you have to get a bigger... I think you got to get a bigger... I want to say here. You want to get a larger range of assessments. You probably want to get more games in to be able to fully assess it. So let's see Russell. If he starts the next few games, let's see how Russell does the next few weeks against some of these other teams before we just crown him. Alright, Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. He's done. With the way he's playing, it looks like that. Shout out to Mariota. Yeah, he did his thing. No more primetime Jets games. Make primetime great again. Good luck with that. I don't think people really care about primetime anymore. Or at least I don't think they cared about it the way they used to care about it. Especially because Thursday Night Football sucks. Panthers were long dead before this game even happened. They're dead cats walking. It's hard for me to say that as I love the Panthers, but it's true. Yeah, they're pretty much cooked. Steelers are for real. I mean, the Steelers' defense is for real, but we have to see this offense be consistent because everybody wants to crown the team early on and completely forget that consistency matters. Consistency matters in this league. Let's see if they can consistently do this with Russell Wilson because if they can't, then I don't see why Justin Fields doesn't get his job back. So I'm not going to sit back and say the Steelers' offense, they're real right now with Russell Wilson. Let's see what he does over the next few games if they do start him. I think it's a bit too early to give them that crown. But we're fans, bro. We react to everything on a week-to-week basis because we have to. So we'll make these type of statements way too early. But it is what it is. Stop the Deshaun hate. I'm not going to speak anymore on that. People are going to have their opinions on them. There's nothing you can do about that. Yeah, the games didn't really live up to the hype that you expected some of these to, especially the Packers and the Texans. It was a close game, but I expected a better performance from C.J. Stroud. Andy Dalton, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson all need to retire. They're probably not. So yeah, C.J. had 86 passing yards. Just craziness. With the weapons he has, 86 passing yards makes no damn sense. Don't be surprised if the full moon tonight suddenly blows up into nothing. The Strouds are not pleased. That's crazy. Tua's back next week. He's back to practicing next week, but I don't know if he's going to play. Tyreek not even trying. He's really been looking like he don't care anymore. Yeah, they were booing the hell out of Watson. Yes, they were. They were booing him when he was coming out the locker room, and apparently they were cheering him when he got hurt. Even with the loss, the Vikings still prove they aren't frauds. Yeah, the Vikings are fraudulent. I just think the Lions are a better team. I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC right now. No way you watched all these games. I didn't watch all these games, but I watched a good chunk of them because I was constantly alternating between these games. So I have a good idea of what happened in the games because I was seeing them. I was alternating between the 1 p.m. games. I was alternating between the 4:25 games. The only best game we had was the Lions and the Vikings. Yep. The Chiefs and Steelers have horseshoes. Yeah, they got all the luck in the world, man. They have all the luck in the world. Cam Ward to the 49ers confirmed. That's not happening. Andy Reid needs to be banned for being too overpowered. How can teams not figure him out? It's not just Andy Reid. It's also Spag. Man, Spag might have to go down as the most underrated defensive coordinator to play this game because he was doing this before Kansas City, and nobody mentioned Spag. Spag has this defense looking like the best defensive unit in football. He had them looking like that last year. They were a top 3 defensive team, and nobody wanted to speak on that. And yeah, also people were surprised when you get 7 points out of that high-octane Dolphins offense. And then you see what he did you see what he did in Buffalo. And then you see what he did in Buffalo and ultimately shutting down Josh Allen down the stretch. And then you saw the beautiful defensive job he did against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in the AFC title game. And then we saw the defensive game he had in the second half to try to come back and make that a game against the Niners, ultimately leading to overtime where they win the game and win the Super Bowl and go back-to-back champs. People don't give Spags his credit. Everyone keeps talking about Andy Reid. Everyone wants to talk about Patrick Mahomes. They'll sometimes talk about Travis Kelce. But no one talks about Spag in that defense. It is ridiculous. He's got that defense rolling. They're carrying the defense right now. Spag and the defense are carrying Patrick Mahomes in the offense. No question. What's up with the Bears chirping so damn much? They're not even good. Yeah, the Bears would say the same thing about the Commanders because neither team has really beaten an impressive team. Look at the wins the Commanders have and look at the wins the Bears have had. Technically, neither one of these teams have faced off against a highly impressive foe. The best team the Commanders have won be the Bengals, and people still think the Bengals are trash. So they look at who you guys have played. They've looked at who the Commanders have played, and they've looked at who they've played, and they're saying there's not much of a difference. So if you guys say the Bears are not good, they're going to say the Commanders aren't good because what good team did they beat? That would be their argument. Yeah, it's another one of those years where injuries are just going to kill kill the Niners. Panthers gave up so much for Bryce Young. Yeah, that was dumb. But they'll deal with it. It is what it is. You just have to worry about it. To be fair, I also believe if Fields plays less than 50% this season, Bears' fourth round pick in 2025 becomes a sixth round pick. We'll see. Mike Tomlin, coach of the year. He won't get it. He won't get it. The Jets defense should be ashamed. I don't believe in that offensive performance. They play an injured Jets defense. Don't buy into what happened today. I said you need a bigger widespread of evidence to really showcase that. So, we have to see Russell Wilson do this for multiple weeks before you could fully buy into that aspect. Now that Pittsburgh put away a terrible Jets team to put pressure on our Ravens for first place against a real team, so it is what it is. Go handle business against Tampa Bay, and you ain't got to worry about it. Yeah, Cleveland. It's Cleveland. They're cursed, and their fans are disgusting and deserve nothing but hurt for the rest of their lives. They're weird. They never kept the same energy for Ben Roethlisberger, They never kept the same energy for Ben Roethlisberger, but he got a pass. I don't know if we're gonna talk about they deserve nothing but a hurt for the rest of their lives. You can't just assume every single Browns fan is that way. One thing we've got to stop doing is generalizing the entire fan base based off of a select group of individuals in the fan base that are trash. Because in our fan base, in your fan base, in any fan base, we have some trash fans. We have some insufferable fans. But they don't represent the entire fan base. So to say that all Cleveland Browns fans deserve nothing but hurt for the rest of their lives is kind of crazy. Quincy's on YouTube. He does his thing. He's not out there celebrating Deshaun Watson's injury. He spoke on it. Does Quincy deserve to suffer for the rest of his life as a Browns fan just because there's some terrible Browns fans that are doing terrible things? I think it's unfair. Let's not generalize an entire fan base based off of a select group of individuals, because we can do that for every fan base in the National Football League. Matter of fact, we can do that for every fan base in sports in general. Just to throw this out here, I'm a Dodgers fan. Dodgers got the job done against the Mets. They're going to the World Series. It's going to be Dodgers and Yankees. That is toxic energy, because Dodgers fans can be toxic, Yankees fans can be toxic. And if you're just a fan from the outside, you don't want to hear either one of these teams run their mouths, and you don't want to see either one of these teams win the World Series. But somebody's going to have to win it, and it's going to be a toxic time from now to Friday, because the game one doesn't happen until Friday. It's going to be a toxic week of trash talking through and through. People don't want to see the Yankees win. People don't want to see the Dodgers win. And there's some toxic fans from both those sides. I know. I see it in this fan base. I see it with the Yankees. And I see it with the Red Sox. And I see it with a lot of teams. By the way, side note, shout out to the New York Mets, man. They fought hard. They had a great season. Nobody believed they would get this far, man. They were struggling in the regular season. At some point, I believe they were under 500. People doubted this team, never thought they'd get it together. They figured it out, got it together, made the playoffs, and came all the way to the NLCS. They were 2 games short of making the World Series. Every time they were doubted, they responded. So shout out to them, man. They fought their tails off. They were a tough team, but I just believe it's the time for the Dodgers to get the job done. And I picked the Dodgers to win the series in 6. They're going to win it, and they won in 6. Now, for the World Series, I got the Dodgers winning in 7 just because Soto and Judge, they're not to be played with. Throughout the postseason, Fernando Tatis, he scared the hell out of me. Tatis scared the hell out of me. The Padres scared the hell out of me, but we got it done. In this series, Alvarez, and especially Lindor, one of them MVP candidates, he scared the hell out of me all throughout the series, but we handled it. However, in the World Series, you're dealing with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. That is not to be played with. That is a different monster, man. To have to deal with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, with the way they've been balling out and been playing, Juan Soto's been clutching it up all postseason. That's going to be a tough matchup. But I still think the Yankees will put up a good fight, but they'll lose in 7. I think the Dodgers got this, man. I think we can handle this and get this championship. Be the first championship. The 2020 championship was in a COVID year, so it's kind of a different situation. This will be the first full championship since 1980, since the 80s. It's been a long time for the Dodgers winning a championship like this, because we've blown it plenty of times. I'm just glad we didn't choke. And shout out to Ohtani did his thing throughout this series. Mookie did his thing throughout the series. Good job on them. I gotta say, good job on them. They did not show up against the Padres at all. They struggled against the Padres. They did things here and there. Ohtani had a home run in Game 1 against the Padres, and then proceeded to do... He had a home run in Game 1. In Game 4, he had a key hit that helped us score to ultimately, get it to a Game 5. And then after that, he did nothing. He didn't do anything in Games 2, 3, or 5.
Mookie, I believe in game 3 and 4, he did do something, but Mookie was relatively quiet in that series. It was really thanks to guys like Tommy Edman and Kike Hernandez and Teoscar Hernandez as well that ultimately got us to the NLCS. And then in the NLCS, Otani's been doing his thing. Shout out to him. Mookie's been doing his thing. Shout out to him. I love what I'm seeing from those guys. But we really got to give credit to the team's clutchest player, man. This dude, Tommy Edman. Oh, my God. Every time the Dodgers were in a pinch and we needed points, this guy comes out. He gets quality hits. He's homering. Shout out to Tommy Edman. Shout out to Kike Hernandez, man. These guys, they're the clutchest players on the team, man. Shout out to them. And you know, they're still doing their thing. They're still doing their thing. Now, we got from now till Friday, until game 1. I'm hopeful Freddie will be at least a little bit better because he had injured his ankle back in the matchup versus the Padres. He had injured his ankle and he didn't really play much in the NLCS against the Mets. So hopefully he will be okay. He gutted through in some of these games, so he did play in some of these games, but he didn't really play much. I'm hopeful his ankle will be better by the time we play game 1, but I don't know. Hopefully we do get him back at some point. Because we're going to need an extra hitter. These Yankees, man, they don't play. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are a fearsome duo, and it's going to be tough to deal with. But, yeah, hopefully the Dodgers win. You know, I would like to see the Dodgers win a World Series, please. I mean, they won the COVID one, but even we all knew that wasn't going to be like... It was like the Lakers winning the championship in the COVID year. Nobody really respected it. It's a championship, but it's like, dude, it was on a short year. Do it on a full year. But, you know, we'll see. First year Otani